Hello and welcome back to Crunch Time, a panel discussion about your favorite topic, sports. I'm your host tonight, Alexis Pearson. Joining me tonight on the panel is returning champion Chris Pearson. Next to him is Hans Bristol, and on the far end there is Parker Kaiser. Thanks for coming tonight, guys. Are you ready to talk about some sports?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Chris, you think you can go 2 in a row?
I hope so.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. Our first topic tonight is about the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings had a lot of problems in their blowout loss to the Buffalo Bills at home. A lot of people are concerned about the team. However, there were some other things going on, which you guys I'm sure will talk about. So tell me, are the Vikes in trouble? Is it time to panic?
No, it's not time to panic. This is a team underestimated the Bills. They are still a good team, and in that game against the Packers was a close one. Multiple times, I mean, you kind of hear the arguments from Packers fans and whatnot, but multiple times 3 missed field goals is 9 points. Like, they could have won that game still, and they would be, theoretically 2-1, and I don't think people would be panicking if they were 2-1 instead of 1-1. But it's the same thing as the Patriots last year. They lost to Kansas City early, lost one to the Panthers in Week 4, and were 2-2, and made it to the Super Bowl. Like, it's not time to panic. This is a good Vikings team. They're just going to be able to figure it out.
All right, Hans?
I think it is not the time for the Vikings to be panicking right now. I really feel it's just too early in the year, and the Vikings have so much talent on that roster. If you look at some of the talent that they've even pulled in this year with the excitement around Dalvin Cook, all the money they threw at Kirk Cousins, yes, some concerning things from that loss against the Bills, but they've got to respond, and they've got a huge 2-game road trip coming up that will speak volumes about where I really think this team's at, and a lot of football fans will find out who the Vikings are.
All right, Parker?
I'm on the same boat as you guys. Sorry. They're just 1-1-1. They're 3 games into the very young season. There's a bunch of teams, actually the Packers and Browns, sorry. There's 3 other teams that are 1-1-1, and they all have a chance to go to the playoffs still. The defense, even though they let up a bunch of yards this weekend, they're still 9th in the NFL on yards allowed, which is kind of surprising with how many yards and how they gave them up with.
I'm still on the line though. I'm like, I think they're underestimating. They're looking at a short week. The Rams are coming up. They're a tougher team than the Bills should have been, and they just underestimated them and couldn't climb back out because, when you're down that much, it's hard to make that comeback. So
right, and
prepared.
That offensive line did not help Cousins having a bunch of pressures and sacks and having him be forced fumbled like 3 times during the first quarter.
All right, we probably could have talked about that one all night, but unfortunately we're out of time for that one. I'm going to give this one to Chris. I think, Chris, you made the best points there. It was just kind of a blip, honestly, in my opinion as well, so I think you did a good job on that one. So Chris gets the first point of the night, and we'll move on to some more NFC teams. So the NFC North is kind of interesting right now. So surprisingly, the Bears are leading the division. I don't know if anybody would have guessed that before the season started. The Vikings and the Green Bay Packers are tied, and then the Lions are right there behind them. So what's going on in the NFC North? Are the Bears going to be able to hold this, or who do you see kind of pulling out of this division? Hans?
I think it's totally wide open right now. And again, it's so early in the season, but I think there's some concerns to be really looking at in the NFC North, and one is Green Bay. When Aaron Rodgers is not healthy, Green Bay is not a playoff contender. It absolutely comes down to that, and I think we saw that in both of those opening games. Now, of course, Rodgers is banged up right now. The defense is not there yet. The offensive weapons cannot be successful without Rodgers at the helm. I think they're a huge concern, and give Detroit credit for beating New England Sunday night at home. The Bears are on top. We don't know a lot about Minnesota right now. I think the NFC North is wide open.
All right, Parker?
It is wide open. As you saw with the Bears defense, they're carrying the team right now. With Khalil Mack, that really helped them. And because Trubisky has only thrown 2 touchdowns this year, which is a concerning sign from a QB for a Bears team. And surprisingly, they're the only team in the NFC with a rushing touchdown this year. The Lions, yes, their defense is outstanding, with leading the NFC North with only allowing 904 yards. Stanford is throwing amazingly with 1,180 yards. Vikings, their defense is somehow still a top 10 defense. They can carry them through the season. Cousins
All right. Unfortunately, we got to go over to Chris.
All right, let's be realistic here, guys. Like, the Lions aren't going to win the year. They haven't started out really poorly, especially that game against the Jets. It's just not the time to be. It's the same thing, though. I mean, like, the Bears are just too young right now. They got Khalil Mack. They got their key sets to go next year, the next year. This is the start. They're not making the playoffs this year. And the Packers are a little bit, I don't know. I see them probably as second best. I really think the Vikings tuned it up from last week. They are the NFC North. Again, I said Vikings don't panic. I really think that's where you got to be.
All right.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, with Kirk Cousins leaving the path, if defense can hold up, offensive line finally get a structure, they can lead the NFC North to a wonderful year.
Well, I liked Parker's point, too, about that Bears team. I mean, I don't think should be overlooked too much. We'll see a few weeks in what Mitch Trubisky and that Bears offense can really do. But, again, you have to be confident in the Vikings right now, like you said, Chris. But don't count out Chicago. That's a young team. They're hungry.
That's my problem with them. They're too young.
But still, the Vikings team last year, I believe, was a young team too.
But they also made the playoffs the year before, and they've been the best team in the NFC North for the last couple of years. You know, when Rodgers was knocked down, the Vikings were the team. So the Bears are making competition. They're still not the leaders.
Correct you, they didn't make it 2 years ago.
All right. Fine,
so, because we blew the 5-0 lead.
Well, and where can you argue in Khalil Mack as a leader on that team now, and maybe a leader on that
He
defense?
can be a leader, but he needs to step it and be the leader. Like, he's just brand new here. You can't just walk in and say, sheriff's in town. That's not how it works. You got to, get going.
I mean, he is helping the Bears defense to the best rushing
We're out of
defense
time.
ever.
That was our big crunch for the day, so this one was worth 2 points. This is a tough one, you guys, for me to pick somebody to win this one because I think you guys all made really good points. I'm going to go with Parker on this one. I like the points he made about the Bears, the concerns that he kind of had, and talking about how wide open it was. So, Parker, you get 2 points for that one. And we're going to move on to the next topic. Still sticking to football, but we're going to move to the Steelers. So, Steelers are finally getting some offers for Le'Veon Bell. What would you do if you're the Steelers, and what in the heck is going to happen to Le'Veon Bell?
This is the oh, I guess.
You can go.
Oh, all right. Well, sorry about that. I was just ready to go on this. You got to get rid of him. He's not helping the team. It's the same thing with the Jimmy B thing in Minnesota. You got to get him out of the locker room. He's just not helping. And you got James Conner. I mean, James Conner is really helping this team. Start out well. So get him out there, get some deals, see what you can get from him. It's just what it's going to be.
I agree with Chris. Bell wants out of there. He's liked a tweet that saying this might have been the last run from him earlier in the week. The Steelers offense haven't skipped a beat without him, with Connors running 352. Jimmy Smith-Schuster, that's a hard name, has been the leader for the wide receiving corps when Brown is low. They just haven't been lucky on defense, and that's the reason why they're struggling this year.
I'm going to be bold and say he's done in Pittsburgh, and the trade talks have to be going right now. If you look at a team like the Redskins, boy, would Bell really fit well in that offense, and I know Adrian Peterson's there. Even look at a team like Green Bay that has been desperate for years for a solid veteran running back. Would they possibly look to make a move like Le'Veon Bell? His presence is poisonous right now in Pittsburgh. The offensive line came out and made that big statement. It's in my opinion, it should be all trade talks right now.
Yes,
for Le'Veon Bell.
exactly. And I think part of it, because they talk about is Mike Tomlin losing the team, and I don't think he is, but a lot of it is the fact that you have this guy who's holding out. He's not going to be part of your team, and he's your star. So other people can maybe not show up to practice, Antonio Brown, or yell at the refs like they did in the last week's game.
Right.
It's a problem, and this is going to be something that continues until you get rid of this poison in the locker room.
And what could hold teams back is we haven't seen him at all this year. Not in the preseason, not in the regular season. So when he does enter into one of those offenses, what is Le'Veon going to bring to the table? I think that's a fair question.
Good points, you guys. Hans, I think you were the winner there. I like what you said, poison in the locker room, and kind of where he might end up, and you made a lot of good points. So you get your first point of the night, and that's all we got for the first block here. So going into the break, we've got Parker in the lead with 2. He won our big crunch of the night, and then Hans and Chris both with 1 point. So we'll come back next for the next round. See you after the break.
Leah, did you put a new dent in that?
This one? No.
Were you texting and driving again?
Yes.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Dad.
Sorry about your bumper.
awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. If you missed the first round, here's a quick recap. We've got Parker in the lead with 2 points. He won the big crunch of the night. And we've got Hans and Chris each with 1 point apiece. So let's get right into the next set of questions. We got one more football question before we move on to another sport, and that's about the rookie quarterback. So 4 of the 5 first-round quarterbacks are now starting for their respective squads. Who do you guys see as the cream of the crop in this draft?
Oh boy, let's look at it. Break it down. Josh Allen's got to be my guy. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 515 yards in 2.5 games. Baker Mayfield is there with 200 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he only played half the game. Sam Darnold with the Jets, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 701 yards game in 3 games, and then Josh Rosen barely getting a start, so doesn't really compare yet.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen's my dude. I got to go with him. He's so athletic. He's so big compared to Baker Mayfield, who's small. I just think, I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, he's so small, but
All right,
he just is too small.
Hans?
I'm with Chris on this one and Josh Allen, and you covered the stats. You covered the numbers, but to have the ability to go on the road against a defense like Minnesota has, Josh Allen controlled that game in Minnesota, without a doubt. And for a rookie to go out there and put a performance up like that, I think that's going to be a really positive sign for Buffalo. And all numbers aside, Josh Allen is a leader. He stands out in my mind.
So I'm actually going to go with Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
I think he showed a lot of promise in that game against the Jets on last Thursday. And I think with his core right now for the team isn't probably the best, but I'm sure once they find out what Baker's main potential is, they'll build around it and it'll be a super team. They'll be probably better than the Steelers, I'm going to go say. Josh Allen, I had second on my list after that performance against the Vikings. And then Sam Darnold, yes, his team isn't the best right now with the Jets. Who knows if he'll ever be top tier again? But he had a good first start against the Lions. The Lions team started off very slow, but since then he's kind of slowed down and dipped down into a field where you don't want to be for a starting rookie QB.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just the way it is, though, too, because you look at these guys in college. Baker was almost the national champion. Josh Allen was, really good at Wyoming. And then Sam Darnold dipped after his freshman year. He won the Rose Bowl, dipped.
All right, guys. That was another really good argument. I like the points that you guys made. I'm going to have to give this one to Hans simply because he talked about how Josh Allen came into Minnesota and completely dominated that game, which is tough for a rookie to do. So good job on that one, Hans. And let's move on to some basketball. So let's talk about the Timberwolves. So Jimmy Butler wants out of Minnesota. That's obvious. It seems there's zero interest in him returning this season anytime soon. Where do you guys think Jimmy Butler fits best, and what does this mean for the Wolves having a guy like this off the team?
This story has gone on for a long time now, as every Minnesota sports fan's aware. And I think it's time, and I think there has to be a move done. If you look somewhere like potentially Miami, where he could go in and build himself with already a solid core on both ends of the floor around of good young talent, or you look at a bigger market, maybe like the LA Clippers, who Jimmy Butler is going to know is going to be able to dish out those bigger contracts, but until the Timberwolves start negotiating better with a lot of these teams, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where this unravels.
All right, Parker?
I think he's probably going to go nowhere. I think with the way he's been acting with the Timberwolves, any sane owner would see that he's not a person to be in the locker room. He's a cancer in there. Even though he was 15th in points per game last year, that doesn't outweigh what he does for a team in the locker room. If there's bad chemistry in the locker room, it won't produce onto the court.
I don't like what you said there. He's a cancer in this locker room, so he's going to be bad everywhere. What is he supposed to do? Just not play in the league? That's crazy. He's a good player. He's going to be playing in the league. But no, I think a bunch of names have been thrown around: Miami, New York, Houston, Philadelphia. He clearly wants to go to a winner. but probably not in trade because he can re-sign at the end of this year. So he wants to get a winner. I mean, this team that's going to get him now might really lose out on Jimmy, unless he signs a long-term contract with this team. But you look at like the other two then, Miami and New York. You've got Kristaps on one end who could be good for the Timberwolves, and you've got Justice Winslow, who now that he wants to go to Miami has been sounding so good as a Wolves fan. Because you think about it, young talent, we need him in there. I think it would be perfect. And it would be a win-win-win for the Wolves.
Would the Wolves be better without Jimmy Butler?
Yes,
Yeah.
clearly.
You think so?
chemistry
Yeah,
would
because
be way
Carl
better.
and Andrew are still growing. You get some young talent like Kristaps or Justice Winslow in there. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Good job, guys. I'm going to give this one to Chris. I liked how he talked about what the Wolves could probably get in return for a guy like Jimmy Butler. So good point there, Chris. Let's move on to a hot topic everybody's talking about. Tiger Woods wins for the first time in 5 years. So, guys, one more time for old time's sake. Is Tiger back?
I think he is, honestly. Even though he hasn't been under par since, well, everyone was under par at the U.S. Open. Well, over par, sorry, at the U.S. Open. Since then, he's been under par every matchup he's been, not a matchup, but meet he's been at. Right now, he is ranked 15th in the PGA season with a 4.3 and birdies per round in average. So I think he's back. He hasn't been over par since U.S. Open, as I've said.
All right. Chris?
Stats don't talk like that. Tiger Woods is an old man. Like, he's a good golfer. Don't get me wrong. He's probably the greatest of all time. One of the greatest. Jack Nicklaus is up there too. But it's just, he's old. He's not going to be around that much longer. And, everyone can jump on the Tiger train. Like, oh, you won a tournament. Good job. It wasn't a major. It wasn't whatever it is. Look at, like, Sergio Garcia, who won the Masters 2 years ago. Everyone's going, who's that? He was an old guy who won the Masters. Where's he now? That's all I'm saying. I don't think he's back.
Hans?
I think there's two answers to this. One, from a media hype standpoint, absolutely Tiger's back.
Yes.
If you watched that tournament last weekend, the crowds following him to his last couple of holes were unreal.
Right.
But that's the Tiger effect. That's what he does. That's what he's done for this game in his past. Now, he has not played well in the Ryder Cup, which is coming up this week.
Yeah.
I think we find out a lot more about where Tiger is mentally and from a talent standpoint in this upcoming Ryder Cup. But from a media hype standpoint and for the game of golf, absolutely, Tiger's back.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think he's going to be like Jack Mickelson, where he just is there but doesn't really in competition? Because I don't think so. I think he's going to be better than him.
In my opinion, I think we learn a lot in the Ryder Cup because his numbers have not been good when he's literally teaming up with other players, and
that's good.
We need a few more tournaments out of Tiger before we go back to, hey, his talent's back.
All right, guys. Really good conversation there. I'm going to give this one to Chris only because he talked about the age. I think that is a huge factor in this. And also, it wasn't a major, so that's a big thing for me, too. But also, Hans, you were a close second. So coming up after the break, we've got one more round for you. Going into the break here, we had Chris, who pulled into the lead with 3 points, and Hans and Parker each have 2 apiece. We'll see you right after the break.
I got some Oxy after I hurt my neck. First, I took them to feel better. Then, I just kept taking them. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
But I'm searching for a
All right, welcome back. We got a couple more questions here. Moving on to my favorite part of the show where we talk some hockey. So guys, hockey season, the regular season is only a week away about. So let's kind of talk about some predictions here. So let's talk about the West first. Tell me, who do you guys think is going to be good? Is there going to be any dark horses? Are the Golden Knights going to be as good again as they were last year? So tell me what you guys think about that.
I think my top team is San Jose, honestly. With that addition of, I talked about last week, the addition of Karlsson, this reminds me of that team that made it to the Stanley Cup 3 years ago. And then now they have extra talent. Like, they're such a good team. My dark horse, though, is probably the Winnipeg Jets, honestly, because it sounds weird to say they're a dark horse because they made it to the conference finals last year, but they were a pretty good team. I think this is another year where they're going to sit in obscurity, no one's going to give them the credit, and they might be able to sneak up to the top of the league.
All right, Hans?
I'm going to go back to your point about Vegas in the Western Conference. What are we going to get from Vegas this year? I mean, a first-team franchise to make it as far as they did. They have the pieces. The front office has done a great job. That's a high bar to set for this group in just their second year. Also, I think St. Louis is a sleeper out of the Central this year. That's a well-put-together team there in St. Louis, and I think with even Chicago, we don't know where they're at. We don't know where Chicago's at right now. As a team, St. Louis could be very dangerous.
Parker?
So I honestly had the Sharks and the Winnipegs as my final for the conference.
Wow.
And I was thinking through it. Winnipeg almost got there last year. I think this year they've learned how to get through that final push, and I think they will actually be representing the West in the
Winnipeg
in the finals. Right. But one dark horse I had, I think everyone should not be sleeping on the Avs again. I think they might have built up momentum.
I don't like that one. It looks so bad in preseason. I know preseason doesn't matter, but they're just a team that's so unreliable. Speaking of unreliable, just like he said, it's one team. Oh, it was Vegas. Yeah, what about the sophomore slump? That always happens. The sophomore slump does come up, and they had such a hype year. They're going to fall hard if they don't.
I think Vegas will sneak into the playoffs, but they won't get far into it.
All right, good points, you guys. I'm going to give this one to Parker. I like what you said about Winnipeg kind of getting that momentum from last year and having all of the right pieces. My only problem with San Jose is I think they're kind of old, so that's the one crutch I have with them. Good conversation on that one. Let's move on to the East. What do you guys think about them? Favorites, dark horses? Who's going to are the Capitals going to make it again?
You know, I think Washington is certainly a playoff team, but I've got my eyes on Toronto in the East, and bringing in Jonathan Tavares. They have been one of those teams that have been building, and you just feel like one of these years in Toronto, it's all going to come together. They have a lot of competition. I think Columbus, too, is going to be a team that they've just not had some good playoff runs. If they can put together a decent playoff run in the East, I think Columbus and Toronto are my teams to watch in the East.
All right, Parker?
So who I have in the East in the finals is Bruins and Penguins. I think Washington and Penguins will also go to a Game 7 like usual. And I think the Penguins will eke through. Representing them, I think it's a toss-up. I think Bruins might put together an amazing run this year. Dark horse, I have the Panthers. The Panthers, Florida Panthers. Right. I thought I read the wrong team.
I thought you said the wrong team.
I did too.
But I think after last year, they pulled together a good team, and maybe they could go on a run.
Chris?
I'm going to go with the Boston Bruins as my team. They are got veteran talent, Marchand and Chara. Chara's 41, but he's still big. He's still intimidating. Yeah. Have you ever watched him duck for pucks? Side note, very funny. No, they're very talented. They got young guys like Charlie McAvoy and David Pastrnak. Won 50 games last year. That's nothing to scoff at. Yeah. 62 if you count the overtime wins. So, that's a very good team. Just couldn't quite make it through. I think they're going to be fighting it. I also like the Maple Leafs, probably my sleeper if anyone. I know that's kind of a weird one to say because this year, Austin Matthews has to prove it. He has to come in and say, this is my year, it's contract extension time, I'm going to get it. So that's what I think.
All right, good job, you guys. I'm going to give this one to Chris. I think the Bruins are going to be good this year. We saw something from them last year we haven't seen in a long time, I think. And the Leafs are still a little young for me. So coming up after the break, we'll find out who won this round, and we'll do our final drive. See you after the break.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool. Ah yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome to Husky Tonight.
Yesterday, I just polished off a whole pack of Capri Sun, and tonight, I'm whipping out the hard stuff. Danimals. How can you do that?
I banged the thing!
Hockey ain't even a real sport.
I'm sorry, bud, but you're gonna have to make like Toronto and leave.
You wanna hear fat?
What's your name? I don't know.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
And we're back, and I'm here with the two-time champion, Chris Pearson. He maintains his title. Parker came in second with 3 points, and Hans in his debut appearance on Crunch Time came in last with 2, but it was a good competition, some good conversations, a couple close ones that it was tough to give the points to.
This was a tough show.
Yeah, and now Chris, the floor is yours.
All right, well, I've got to give a shout out to the Loons today. It's National Scarf Day, everybody, so go Loons. But my real topic has to be the Philadelphia Flyers' new mascot, Gritty. Who loves him? I do. If you don't know, I'm a Flyers fan, so I was super excited to see that they have a new mascot. Designed by the guy who made the Philly Fanatic, which is kind of cool because, you know, keeping it in Philadelphian style, and also with the very weird stuff. He's been getting a lot of hate online, which I don't like because it's a mascot. It's supposed to be fun. It's not like something that's overly terrifying. I mean,
he doesn't scare you? I mean, he scares
a
me.
little terrifying. He's actually my wallpaper on my phone right now, so
that's
pretty good.
terrifying.
Something to wake up into in the morning. No, but I think he's gonna be fun. He slips on the ice all the time. He's just kind of a cartoony mascot. I love it. So I don't know. Go Gritty. That's all I gotta say.
All right, number 1 team in the East.
Number 1 team in the East.
Is Philly gonna make it far? What do you think? They
hard.
looked kind of promising last year.
I know. I don't. They always fail me. I don't like it. Go Flyers. I hope they win. I don't know.
He hopes. He's not sure, but he hopes.
I hope. Right.
Either way, there's going to be riots, right?
Yeah, probably. Either way, that's how Philly works.
At least we'll always
that's
have
how
that,
Philly
right?
Works. Yes.
All right, well, that's all we got for you here tonight. Chris Pearson, 2-time champion. Maybe he'll do it again next week. Find out. Same time, same place. We'll see you next week.
I want some more.
What's he doing?
Please, sir, I want some more.
More? He has asked for more!
Thank you.
Well, he did say please.
Yes, he did. And thank you.
Please, and thank you. Pass it on.
Thank you.
Week in Review starts right now.
Welcome to Week in Review,
where we take a look back at the top stories of the week.
My name is Ben Henry. Alongside me is Emilio Ramos.
Well, the temperature is not that cold, even though it is snowing like crazy.
On WCHA conference rival, Bemidji State.
Thank you for joining us for UTVS News Week in Review. We'll see you back here Monday at 4:30.